All right, let's go down Pat episode number 12, the Brady episode. Coming off of a big week against Cleveland last week. Thursday night football this week. It is going to be, you guys are going to be watching this. It's going to be tonight. We're recording this Wednesday night, but this will be out Thursday morning. Adam, Jake, what's going on?
Hey,
Short week.
Another week in paradise.
Short week. The players have to prepare, but we got to prepare for this podcast, which
That's
we
what I'm
prepare
saying.
so much throughout the week.
It's a short week for us.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, so what do we think of last week against Cleveland? You know, we we're so like cautiously optimistic the way we talk about this team. Like I'm thinking about how we were talking about the game against the Chargers, and then the next game, and then we look at this Browns game. We were kind of like, oh, it's gonna be a shootout. They got to hang with them. Can they handle Cleveland? 45-7. Like they can handle Cleveland, by the way. So what do we think of that?
Yeah, it was
go
the most
ahead.
complete. I would say it's the most complete game this team has played in a few years, honestly. Everything outside of Jacoby Myers as the punt returner was firing on all cylinders. I'll also say, like, Josh McDaniels, this is your, like, resume game. The offense looked great. Got to give him credit. I kind of want to hear Jake's opinion on Josh after the last few weeks. Maybe that's trended because we were very down on Josh earlier in the year. On Sunday, I mean, he's making Brandon Bolden look good. We're also been down on Brandon Bolden. Not like I did like a little spoof thing. I feel like everything went well for the Patriots on Sunday.
Are we sure it's Brandon Bolden?
Yeah, he goes to Miami and all of a sudden he can play now.
Are we sure that's really him?
Against us too. He scored a touchdown, I think, against the Patriots when he was on the Dolphins.
Yeah, he did.
Last year.
Nice fun.
I think it started against us, and now it's like kind of taken off. But I'll say it's hard as a Patriots fan to. I feel like, for lack of better words, keep it in your pants after Sunday. But at the end of the day, this is still a 500 team if you take out the Jets wins. They're 4-4 if you take out the Jets. So I think that's something that I know they've won the last 4 games. I'm very pumped with what this team's trajectory is. But I'm still cautiously optimistic. I think that's like a really good way to put it, Evan. And I want to touch upon like the national outlook of this team in a little, but like it's hard not to get excited about after that game on Sunday. They look great. Jake, take it away.
Yeah, no, I think there was really very few negatives from that game. Coaching wise, I thought we've been kind of on this coaching staff from week 1, and yeah, I mean it's hard to say anything negative about the coaches right now. I think my Kellen Moore take from week 4 I think was a little premature.
You said it was gonna be too.
I said it was gonna be a freezing cold take. But hey, you gotta fill up some airtime, so I guess you gotta say some things that are a little out of bounds. But yeah, I think they look good. I think another like win for the free agency, another win for this like off season. Like each week, it looks like the off season they put together is better and better. I know you can't always really tell about a draft class until year 2 or 3, but it looks like they just absolutely nailed this draft class. Crushed it. And so even when I think Adam, you said this we were watching the game together, but if you put the last two draft classes together, it really looks like a really good haul of young talent they brought in. So yeah, I think there's not really a lot to complain about. Even Josh McDaniels looks like really good. I thought those Kendrick Bourne like end arounds were just like perfect play calls, perfect timing to get like him going. I still want to see more from Aguilar. So I think maybe this might be the week where they can get him going a little bit too. And other than that, I think what Aguilar.
I love that you still have like faith. They're gonna miss in some of these free agents.
Yeah,
I'm
off the Aguilar train. I think.
Are you completely off him?
Not completely off, but it's like I'm not waiting for anything.
The thing is, I just think like it was always going to be a 1-year fix. I don't think he's not going to be on this team next year. I know he signed a 2-year deal, but it's a very cuttable contract if you look at it. It was always like I think the cap next year is $15 million. You think that's going to be on the cap next year? No shot. So he's one and done. So if you're going to have one guy to succeed between Bourne and Aguilar, Bourne actually a manageable contract for 3 years, you want it to be Kendrick Bourne. So I think this is like right where the team wanted of those two guys.
I agree with that, but I still think Aguilar could have a really important role for this team down the stretch. Like if you can give him a couple big plays from here until January, just even one big play, like a game type of thing. I think it's like adds another whole element to this offense. So they're still lacking. They're still lacking that deep threat.
I would say
Also-
give one good look a game almost. Like I don't think he's gonna
Right.
make that big catch, but I
And they
said I
did
was
actually
off
throw
of
a
him.
deep one
Yeah,
to him.
they did that. Jake, you said this. Jake said we did watch the game together. He said this, and I actually tend to agree with you because this was a big in the and I guess in like the early 2010 years. This was like a big point after like Randy Moss left, and there was like it was Edelman in the middle. It was like Gronk, but like the teams are playing very much just congest the middle, and everyone's like, you need somebody to like take the top of the defense. Although Aguilar doesn't really have that like play yet, he is running the route. So is that
Right.
freeing up Jacoby Myers? Is that freeing up Kendrick Bourne? Probably. So as much as like, does the stats translating? Maybe not. But does Kendrick Bourne appreciate that Nelson Aguilar is taking the safety with him? I imagine so. So as much
Under
as like,
Henry.
and Bill's seeing that. So as
And
much
they
as
keep
like
him on the field.
yeah.
It's like it's not like he hasn't been producing, so he's not even playing, right? Like he's getting
Yeah,
snaps.
he's been
so
better
he
than
must,
Johnny Smith. He's
right,
been better
so
than Johnny Smith.
He must be to both of your points there, because I guess Adam's reiterating something that you originally, I guess, said, Jake. It's like he's doing something for this offense, and that's like one thing that the Patriots really like in recent years don't even really like take the chance on that type of guy. You know what I mean? Like, how long have we said like just put a guy out there that's gonna run deep to open things up? It's been a couple of years since we even really had someone that would do that. So I guess Aguilar's doing his part right now, but getting back to like, are you off him? Are you on him? You seem like you're still on that train. I'm not waiting for him to make a boom. I still agree with both of you guys that he has his place on this team. He's not like a failed signing, because maybe he is doing what you're saying and it's helping Mac open up the field and everything like that. But I'm not waiting for Nelson Aguilar to become like a huge part of this offense now. Like that trip, that has sailed for me. If it happens, great. I'll just be happier. But in terms of being off the train, I don't hate him. I just think that I'm off like he's going to really impact this team.
Yeah.
I mean, they put up 45 with like what 3 90-yard drives without him really. If they're putting up
anything,
they're the 6th highest offense right now. You know that? Crazy.
Really?
Yeah. It points. So some of that's like defensive touchdowns. 2nd defense. Just stats thing. And like I know stats are what they are.
Stats
They haven't
thing.
a bye week. Yeah, but like on paper, they look pretty efficient on both sides. Part of that is that they play the Jets and drop 50. Like, so that skews the numbers a little bit, but still they look, I mean, the last month, obviously this offense looks good, which I'm going to transition into. Okay. They're 6-4. That's great. I am, as they say, in the unemployed lifestyle in between jobs right now. And I've had all the time in the world to watch Get Up ESPN, freaking Shannon Sharp, like Colin Coward, all these guys. And I cannot believe what's going on nationally. Because we grew up when everyone like hates the Patriots. And we said last week on the show, like, how do you feel that people are talking positively? Yeah. I don't know if you guys have heard, since they won 45-7 on Cleveland, I'm sure we can imagine it could only get worse. Now these takes are outrageous. I'm just going to name 4 guys, 4 things that I'm going to paraphrase what they said. I don't have them in front of me. Ryan Clark said that this offense has never run. Ryan Clark and Rich Eisen essentially said the same thing, that Mac Jones currently is running this offense as well as Tom Brady ever did. That came out of their mouth. Wait. No,
I will say a 45-7 game, maybe you could make that argument.
Oh, no, but they're saying like it's like they forgot like the first few weeks of the season existed. Like now it's like, okay, yeah, you can take any
or the 07 Pats.
You could take any drive. Yeah, you could take
this. I thought was even more egregious, honestly. Rex Ryan. I don't know if he's looking for an assistant job, but talking about someone who's like waxing Bills, whatever, said that this currently is Bill Belichick's best coaching job he's ever done his whole career. They're 6-4. What's looking like the 01 season, pretty good by Bill. The 2006 season to get the AFC Championship, the 2011 season to get the Super Bowl with that team, what they did with the Rams in that team, literally like any of the Super Bowl. I'm like looking at like
any of Brady's first runs, you can be like.
But it's like he said, this is the best coaching job Bill's ever done, and when all said and done, that could be true. Because also, then this is the other thing. Dan Orlovsky said that right now he thinks that the Patriots play the way they are right now, that they are the favorite to go to the Super Bowl from the AFC.
Jake, don't you
Little
love
stat for.
I love Dan. I love
Dan Orlovsky too.
No Dan Orlovsky slander on this.
No, I'm not slandering him. I'm saying like Mac Jones. There's never been. I think I said this last week. A rookie quarterback has never led his team to a Super Bowl, let alone won one, but never got there. That's never happened before. And Mac Jones looked great. We haven't really talked about him. That was his best game of his career so far. He is looking the part, but now it's like I feel like these guys are like doing this to make him look. They're setting him up to fail now. And
Oh,
that's
so
why I'm worried about
you think this
Thursday.
is a whole? We talked about reverse jinx
No.
originally. Do you think this is the whole national media
Well,
reverse jinx
Reverse
just to
jinx.
get
One
back?
big reverse jinx.
No, I don't think like the national media is. I think what is really showing is how bad. Like the Patriots are bad last year, right? They missed the
Yep.
They missed the playoffs, and I didn't realize that. Obviously, Boston's a big sports market, but I think people forget what the Patriots being good at football does drive the NFL numbers. The NFL likes when the Patriots are good. When them being bad, like the play, like, you know what it is. Like I feel like they do want to talk about Bill Belichick, these national guys. So now they're very excited that the Patriots are relevant again because they couldn't really talk about him last year. They have the whole Brady Belichick thing to talk about. Like that's a good storyline. But now it's like poor Mac Jones coming off this great game, and now it's like if he doesn't win a playoff game, all of a sudden the season's a disappointment. Like we said at the beginning of the year, the most important thing is do we have the quarterback? It seems like we do. This season's a success in our eyes, right?
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, like I'm a big consistency guy. You put the goalpost up, don't move them. I feel like with every win, people are like, now he's going to go to the AFC Championship game. If they win on Thursday against the Falcons, are you going to say like this 7-4 Patriots team is the favorite to win the AFC East? Because that was never a thing. I'm just looking at it. I'm like, can they shut up? Because the local guys aren't doing this. You don't hear Mike Felger being like, this team is going to beat the Bills. But all of a sudden, Dan Orlovsky says they're better than the Bills. Like that's not true. So I guess this whole rant is to pump the brakes. We're a 6-4 team. It looks good right now. I'm happy. Trajectory's good, but God, people got to chill, especially in this town.
I don't know if I've ever actually heard, and this is, I guess, perfectly used, but I don't know if I've ever heard someone using the move the goalpost analogy, actually talking about football.
I know, it's always like COVID.
It's like, when you said that, I actually was like, wait a second, hold on. I was like thinking football. I agree with it. I mean, I know you didn't mean to do it, Adam, but now it's in my head that this is a huge reverse jinx. Like the media wants the Patriots to be bad, so they're gonna talk them up so high that when they are good, no. I don't care if you're trying to say it. That's where my head is now. They want them to win a playoff game, but that's a letdown now. They want that. I'm sold. What you were selling, I bought. It's exactly.
Well, what I think is interesting too is like they're kind of last year the whole talk was okay. This is proving that it was Brady, not Belichick. Mm-hmm. So it's not just Belichick's system, and then now. I'm seeing like on first take they're like, oh, is Mac Belichick's system benefiting from Belichick's system again? So it's like it's like they're putting themselves in a pretzel of like whose system, what system is it? Brady, Belichick, maybe Mac Jones is actually really good, and maybe Brady is really good, and maybe Belichick's really good. Like that could actually happen. That could be
most likely. That is, if you're like
really
betting on the favorite, that's probably what's going on. Yeah, no one will say that because it's not like a sexy topic. But that is exactly what
I think it's I'm gonna butcher this, but oxen razor or something, where the easiest solution is usually the right one. So that's, in my opinion, probably what's going on here. But no, the media, to your point, Adam, just always wants to spin stories, always wants to make something big. And I think having the Pats, like they talk about the Cowboys enough. Like the Pats are a big kind of selling point nationally. And so I think it's more of them just being like fired up that they don't have to talk about Cam Newton throwing balls to the ground again for another year. Like it's just another talking point. And if the Pats were to reach the Super Bowl and the Bucs were to reach the Super Bowl, that is the media's wet dream, pardon my language, of absolute
we'll have to beat that post show for sure.
It's a family friendly show.
Oh gosh.
Gosh darn it. But yeah, no, so I think like the fact that that's a possibility, they're gonna play up all those angles as much as they can because it is a good storyline for the national guys.
But to Adam's point, that's nowhere near a reality right now. You know what I mean? Like that's the whole. It's like I think that parlays right into what Adam's saying in terms of like how the media's got to keep it in their pants and stuff. It's like that end result is so wet dream-esque, but it's so not gonna happen. Like that isn't that. I'm sorry, it's not.
It's like a make-believe world.
Can we find the odds of that happening?
What probably like 20? Yeah, you can go to your local sports book. You'll find the odds. I'm guessing it probably around like 50 to 1. I'd say 50 to 1 would be my guess. Maybe less.
50 to 1 for it to happen.
For that
I don't even know how to look it up. So
I could find.
We'll trust your odds, Adam. You're a bookmaker.
It's around there, I would imagine. 41, 50 to 1. Then another thing I heard, and this is kind of, I guess, was transition to this short week coming up. I heard this on Felger Maz yesterday, and I couldn't disagree more. they're acting like they're going to go into Atlanta tomorrow, today for the listeners, and win by 30. That's what they're saying. And I know all the people that are out on Atlanta. And this is why Thursday night games are always weird. But now this is not, I don't look at this team as a team that's going to win any given Sunday. They're not like the Brady Patriots where at this point you have a rookie quarterback.
Yep.
They almost lost to the Texans like a month ago. I'm old enough to remember that. Like when they almost lost to Davis Mills Texans, probably should have. But this is all just to say this year in the NFL has been really weird. Like we saw like last week how 8 dogs won outright. Last Thursday, the Dolphins beat the Ravens, who were maybe the AFC favorite. You're seeing the Bucks who just lost to the football team, the Cowboys against the Broncos. My point is like the good teams that are in the NFL are losing to these bum teams. So why am I going to look at this game on Thursday on a short week? We're going to say the Patriots on the road are a lock to beat the Falcons, who I don't look at the Falcons as a dumpster team in the NFL. They aren't the Jets. They're not the Lions. They're middling. They're like a middler team that they've had some decent games. I know they just got blown out by Dallas, but like Dallas is a good team. I guess like all of a sudden because they blow at the Browns, I feel like people think they're this top dog already. I hope the team doesn't think that because I hate that number too. Yeah,
I don't. 7-point favorites is crazy to me. This Patriots team
hammer
really,
the Falcons.
This and I just wouldn't. I can't get myself to do that. But this Patriots team isn't a touchdown favorite against anybody. Like maybe you could say the Jets,
especially on the road. Texans. Maybe they're a 10-point favorite
on the road and Thursday night. Like you hit the nail on the head. Thursday night actually is a equals to anything can happen type of thing. You know what I mean? Like it's an off night. It's weird. It's like, you know, you show up and play all of a sudden, but like I know you know Thursday's coming, but it's like everybody gets up for that game. Even if Atlanta was playing all fourth strings, everyone's getting excited because it's Thursday night football. You know, you don't want to overlook them, anything like that. I hate a 7-point spread for this Patriots team in any week, really. Never mind the fact that we're looking at now a lot of things pointing in the direction of Atlanta would come out to play. I still think the Patriots win it, but we'll get into our predictions later. But I hate that number just to say 7 points. Don't love it.
Well, you could argue that Matt Ryan's the third best quarterback they've seen so far this year. So, and I think the best quarterback. Yeah, I mean, I think he's better than Herbert Poopy Pants, who I think sucks. Oh my God,
Justin Poopy Pants.
Herbert, your fantasy quarterback you're talking about.
He's horrible. I've watched more Herbert snaps the last 2 years than anyone besides his coach, and he stinks. Oh my God, he is Philip Rivers on steroids. That's what he is. That's all he is.
Probably more than his coach. You had 2 coaches, right?
It's true. You're right.
No.
And I watched him in Oregon too. He stinks. He's the most overrated player in the NFL right now. But no, I think Matt Ryan, he's still good for a big game here or there. I think Kyle Pitts is a matchup nightmare for anyone in the league. Yeah. I know Patterson's banged up, but if he's healthy, he's another kind of matchup guy and a guy that is hard to game plan for on a short week. So I think this could be a game for sure. I think we've said this before, but Thursday night is just about surviving, especially on the road. Like, I don't care if it's the ugliest game of all time. Find a way to win, right? That's all that matters. Like, find a way to win and then take the long week after that and get healthy and reset and go from there. You have a huge game. But hopefully they're not looking at the Titans game. They're just in here, get a win out, go back home, reset, and then it's, you know, the grind of that really hard stretch of games coming up after that.
It sucks because doesn't it seem like they could be in a look-ahead spot? Like it's
totally.
Thursday night playing a really bad team, looking at
after a big game. After a huge
after
win.
a big game, looking
massive
at a team that's good.
Huge.
Yeah. So I mean, hopefully that's not the case. And one thing I will say about Matt Ryan is that I feel like, or I guess it's more of a question: how many times are we going to hear about, you know, him choking against the Patriots and all this? Like that's national media's. We're talking wet dreams on this episode. It might be the title of the episode. They're gonna be like, "Oh, you remember when it was 28-3 and all this?" Is like, holy shit! You hear that every time. Did you guys see the Falcons this week when they were up 28-3 or something at one point? Maybe they were down 28-3, and they just
get blown out by the Cowboys.
But they tweeted out. They go, "Yeah, we get it," because the score is 28-3 at one point. It's like on a national scale now. You know, there's gonna talk 28-3, 28-3. And it's like that happened years ago. Really, it's still funny, but no one cares about it anymore. But I feel like that's gonna follow Matt Ryan. I guess my whole point here was to bring that up, but also like the Matt Ryan thing. You're gonna hear plenty about how like, oh, like the Patriots have his number, they can beat Matt Ryan. It's like I don't think that. Like I I don't think Matt Ryan's thinking, oh my God, gee willikers, these guys beat me when we were up 28-3 in a Super Bowl. You know, I'm gonna lose to them tonight.
I feel like
I'll say this.
I feel like Matt Ryan actually says G Willikers.
Yeah, he
like,
strikes me as a
seriously.
G willikers guy.
I'll say this about Thursday. The only reason I feel like I'm more confident than, because I'm saying all the reasons I'm not, there's no Calvin Ridley. Pretty sure Cordell Patterson's not playing.
Yep.
If you look past Kyle Pitts and you look who Ryan has to throw the ball to against a defense that I think, like, the one thing that I'm worried about is this offense. Is can you do this week after week? We just saw them firing on all cylinders. On a Thursday night when you don't have time to game plan, could the offense lay an egg with a rookie quarterback? Any given Sunday, absolutely. I feel like defense travels more than offense on a Thursday. I don't think they need as time. I think we win just about every matchup coming on Thursday, and you're going to double Kyle Pitts, I would imagine. So I still even like the chance. I like Bill even on short weeks, shutting down what they do best. So as far as like Atlanta's offense, I could come back next week and look like an idiot, but I'm not worried about Atlanta putting up points on Thursday. It's whether can we put up enough to just win a gross game, because I think that's what it's going to be. Can we avoid what Baltimore did last Thursday against a very similar situation in the Finns, who didn't have that much talent on the field either with all their injuries. Exactly. So that's what we're looking at.
in the same boat. Like, I think I'm in the same boat in terms of this. Like, I still think this Patriots are going to win this game, right? I feel like we're all saying, like, very negative things about this, but I'm just I really think we're all in the same boat of saying, like, well, no, I think we think this is going to be a fight. It's not going to be a first-round knockout type of game. And going back to what we talked about prior to, right, with the national media, I feel like the consensus is that this Patriots team is going to come out there and mollywop the Falcons. And all we're saying is that, I just don't, like, it could happen. I'm not saying, like, this team did just put, as much as we're dismissing 45 points against the Browns, they did just do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's a fact. But to me, it's like Thursday. If this was on a Sunday, I would be way more likely, and I'm sure you guys are in the same boat, to say, okay, that 7 points doesn't look as big, or this team can do it. But Thursday nights are a little weird thing that, happens where good teams either play down to bad teams play up to good teams. And to me, it's like the Patriots get this game won, but don't be expecting a 45-0 game, even better than last week, because you're playing a worse team, right?
I guess, like, I'm gonna ask you guys this. Curious what your thought is. They're 6-4, and if they lose on Thursday, they're still fighting for a 6-7 seed. We're not in a place where we can really lose a game that we're supposed to win, especially with looking ahead. We have a few tough games coming up in the next month. Mm-hmm. But it's almost like I feel like because they're on this 4-game win streak, and because the national media is pumping everyone's tires, it's impossible for these players to not hear this. Like, I feel like that's like, and for me as a fan, like sometimes it's like almost a loss is a good thing. So like grounds you. They're not in a position where they can lose because if they go to 6-5. But I worry, like, okay, you go to 7-4. The media keeps doing this. What are they going to do on Friday when they have nothing else to talk about? After all they're going to talk about is this Thursday game. If the Patriots do blow at the Falcons, you're going to hear the Dan Orlovskis and the Ryan Clarks doubling down on what they just said this past week. I don't look at that as a good thing. Like, I almost need them to keep the Patriots out of their mouth. That's how I feel. I don't know how you guys feel about the, like, positive national attention.
So do you think so you're saying that because you think the players start to feed into that? I guess
yeah, okay, I'll actually tell you the correlation. After the game, I heard Judon and Mac Jones both, like, they do their post-game press conferences, and usually they were really all in on talking about how, like, they always felt this team was good, even when they were 2-4. And the thing that's changed is that they're really, like, locked in at practice, and, like, they're really engaged. They both are, probably exactly what Bill is telling them to say, but they're both really, like, preaching practice. And I'm sure that's going on. I'm sure they are engaged. What time do you start, like, being a little jovial because you're winning and maybe don't pay as much attention to practice because now you feel like you're a contender, when it's like, look at your record, like, you still have a lot of work to do. Like, I don't know. Like, they're not 8-2 right now. They're 6-4. They don't have, like, time to drop a game. And I'm worried that this is, like, the perfect trap game. Like, this is the kind of time where you would get ahead of yourself.
I think they still have enough, like, leaders in that locker room, like Matt Slater, McCourty, who have been through this a lot and enough times to, like, be able to tell these guys, like, tune out the media, don't get ahead of yourselves. Like, I think
too, right? Who's the number one coach that would push?
Oh, 100% Bill, but I'm just saying within the locker room, like, sometimes young players might get ahead of themselves, like to Adam's point. I think if they didn't have guys like McCourty and Hightower and Slater and even James White and Brandon Bolden in the world, like I think they have enough guys that can kind of keep this like rain down. And I don't think maybe I'm overselling Mac Jones a little bit too, his like mental toughness, but I just don't see him as a guy that's like buys into any. Like I just feel like he goes home and watches film. Like I don't think he like is sitting there like reading the press clippings and like. Whereas Herbert is probably like popping his pimples to it or something. Sorry, I'm trying to find Herbert's thing. He's costing me the fucking fantasy league over here. No, but yeah, no, I think Mac Jones doesn't buy into that stuff. So I think they're fine.
We've talked that about Mac Jones, like dating back to the first episode that we've done of this, right? It's like he throws a pick and he doesn't look like, oh man, shucks. I feel like every player or coach that we're talking about doesn't swear now, but it's like he looks, he's more of like a take it on the chin type guy, which is, I guess if you were to say what he's taking on the chin this week is hey, this can't be a letdown game, so you know what I mean. That's his like sort of internalization of this, and then he kind of goes out there and says, hey, like I'm not, just like Brady would do it. I know that we hate doing that, but it's the same type of thing. Brady would not overlook a team based on who they're playing next week. We hope that Mac Jones has that same mentality because there's been indicators that he does. You know, like he doesn't get down. He takes it game by game, play by play almost, because he's been a guy that bounces back from bad plays and etc. So let's hope that's the case. But Thursday night, anything can happen.
Yeah, and to do a little Mac Jones talk, I think what people are missing from him, like the stat line everyone's looking at, but it was a 45-7 game. I feel like people, so they look at the Browns game and they're like, oh, it's a blowout from start to finish. That wasn't the case. The Browns go down, first drive, very impressive drive. I mean, got them to 4th and goal, but they converted. You're down 7-0, kind of like the Chargers. They took the first possession, scored. Mac Jones comes back, scores a touchdown. That's a tough spot for like a rookie. And those first 2 drives he had, I guess the Kyle Duggar like interception led to the second touchdown. But then like to go up 21-7, that's when you saw the throw to like Jacoby Myers. That's when you saw the Kendrick Bourne throw. That's when you saw Hunter Henry's catch. Like that was when the game was still in balance and they were executing at a very high level. So I feel like people act like it was a runaway from start to finish. It wasn't like that. They ran away in the second half. Going into the halftime, it was a 2-score game. Yep. Like we've seen teams overcome that. So I think like looking at what Mac Jones did in the first half and also what he did with the Chargers, because he was down 7-0 against the Chargers, scored a touchdown. Chargers scored another touchdown, then he matched it again. So he showed that like he's not just a front running QB. He hasn't had that many opportunities to come back in games, but when he has been down, he's been able, especially in this last 4 games, he's been able to put them over the top. And to me, that's what like most impresses me about this kid. Like that is what I'm like. That's pretty fucking sick. Like, what other rookies doing
that? did they? I might be hazy remembering this. Did they had a similar situation as they had the ball with a few minutes left in the half, and they at least tried to move the ball down the field? Or am I thinking of a different game now?
That was the Kendrick Bourne. Yeah, they scored a touchdown. Actually,
so,
right?
But so
no,
so
they went down and kicked a field goal, right? Because it wasn't 24-7 half. I'm making that up.
I thought it was 21-7. But
either way, my
you're probably right. You're actually probably right.
I think they went down.
I guess the point I'm trying to make is that just clicked in my brain now too, that you'd think that I'd be looking for that in games, but that's so different than.
Yeah, it's 24-7 and a half.
So yeah.
I forgot about that.
But I mean, that's like, it's almost like we've been talking about slowly introduce, blah, blah, blah. I almost feel like after the one thing that we can pull, I guess, from a couple of these wins now is, do you feel like the training wheels are off? Like, do you think that we're still holding anything back? Because I haven't seen much held back recently, you know, and that's what I for sure have been begging on these shows, and I know you guys have too. But it's like, do we think like maybe is that why the Patriots have the success? Like, I know Adam, you're saying there's still a 6-4 team or whatnot, but like, are we sleeping on the fact that maybe the training wheels are just off of this team and they are actually really good?
I don't think we know yet. I'm just saying simply in like do we trust him on 4th and 3 in overtime? Like, we haven't been in that situation.
So now this week,
4th and 1
if that situation arises, do they do the same thing they did against the Cowboys? I guess that's part of my question. So then maybe the training wheels aren't obviously off then, if we can't answer that.
Well, I think they're. I mean, what's the progression from training wheels to don't you go to another set? Or am I making that up?
I mean, you literally take training wheels off and then you have your bike. So
I think you like.
There's
Maybe
no
there's like
what, Jake.
there's no middle step.
Wait,
Because
you
I
go
was
to
saying,
like a tricycle? Like you got training wheels and you go to like a tricycle?
Jake's
I don't have kids.
You
but
were a kid though at one point.
there's 4 years old when I learned how to
Can you
ride
ride a bike?
Yeah, but
Adam, have
I
you ever
think
seen Jake
I
ride
mean,
a bike?
Nope.
No, me neither.
I don't like riding bikes, but I know how to ride a bike, obviously. But I mean, early in the year, we were like, why aren't they throwing into the end zone? So we're already seeing like that progression of they're letting him take shots on the field, they're throwing to the end zone. I think having a guy like Trent Brown come back, only
Huge.
like one of the things we were like saying, well, maybe they're just worried about him getting crushed, right? And he only took a few hits in this game against the Browns with Myles Garrett.
Did you see him and Mac kind of like dap up after one of them?
I did see that.
It made me feel so cool about Mac Jones because he's literally the last person on the list that I would think Myles Garrett would be like, hey man, like way to go. But they
last person on the list I thought Tyrann Mathieu would be tweeting about on a Tuesday afternoon.
That's Tyrann Mathieu.
Like actually, you told me there was gonna be one guy he tweeted about, I'd be like, it's not Mac Jones, that's for sure.
Definitely not Mac Jones.
Trent Brown makes this team look different. He needs to stay healthy. The offensive line's been looking good the last few weeks without him, but having him out there, I just feel like there's a comfort for Mac Jones. I mean, all of a sudden they're like, we didn't even really bring up Ramondre Stevenson. They're running the ball well. Like Trent Brown is just like a monster out there. And his line looks different with him. Like the whole team, I don't think it's a fluke that on the best offensive day in a few years, Trent Brown was back. Like I don't know if they're dropping 45 if Trent Brown's not on the field on Sunday. And I know he didn't play as many snaps as he usually would, but I think early downs he looked good.
And we're mentioning like Garrett too. Like obviously Garrett's not going to be lined up against him or anything every possession, but that's not the wimpiest pass rush like in the league. You know what I mean? That's a pretty good pass rush overall outside of even Myles Garrett. So I mean, 100%. I think that.
Also, shout out N'Keal Harry. Took down Myles Garrett a couple times.
I've never seen the positive spin on Harry. Like everyone's so positive about him now because he made a couple of blocks. It's unbelievable. That's what's going to take.
Because it's the best thing he's ever done.
I've been defending this guy since day one, right? With all the hate, I've been defending this guy, and all it took was one block against Myles Garrett for every fan to turn on him to be like he's positive now. Like what? He turned into a fullback, and everyone's praising him.
Jake, you have been saying for years that he's just a really good blocking wide receiver. I know it's been your number one point.
It's unbelievable. That's
how you drafted in the first round.
Yeah, number one pick. He's a blocking wide receiver.
Sony Michel just needed like a couple more blocks, and he's still be in town.
Sony Michel chips Myles Garrett one time. He's still here.
He's still here.
Don't forget that Brian Hoyer's favorite target's N'Keal Harry.
That's true.
Fair.
Should we
shout out to Myers though, by the way, for his first touchdown from Brian Hoyer. That was good.
Should we get to midseason plus and minuses?
Yeah.
Positive negatives.
So what did we do last time? We did pretty much a player or like unit or a group unit.
thing.
Okay, yeah. Did we do one each?
One each, one positive, one negative.
All right, and we can't repeat. We'll do it like a snake draft, okay? So we'll start with the pluses and then go negatives. Who wants to start?
Adam, you can start.
Yeah. He does have the best survivor pool record, so we'll do it in that
order.
order. Adam, Jake, me. I get.
He's got a crab shirt on, so or a lobster. Crab.
Or you.
Dude, all right, I'm gonna. I was actually hard on these guys.
It just doesn't look anything like a lobster.
I just started claws thinking I can't. Yeah, it's a crab. I said a crab the first time.
Anyways. I think I said for my minus through what did we do it through week 4 or 5 weeks, 6 weeks? I don't know. I think I said my minus was now. I'm going to couple him in my plus. I said Damien Harris is my minus because of the early season fumbling woes. Now I look at like Damien Harris and Ramondre Stevenson, and I think that is something that this team has that a lot of NFL teams don't. I'm honestly looking at them like USC's little thunder and lightning thing. They're both kind of – I wouldn't necessarily put Damien Harris in the lightning category, but I really like those two. I think they run really hard. I think – with this offensive line, that's kind of what I said before the season. It didn't translate through the first quarter of the season, but now it's kind of what I feel like is fueling them.
100%.
That run game looks legit, and I am really high on Ramondre Stevenson. I'm really high on Damien Harris, and even now Brandon Bolden getting the mix. I feel like we haven't missed James White, which is a testament to all three of those guys. So
yeah,
that group right now I look at more positively than just about any running back committee in the NFL. So,
Jake,
and I don't think that they get that much of all the people that get national media attention. Those guys don't. So I'm going to give them a little attention here.
I was gonna say before Jake goes, based on how Stevenson comes out of the last week, where is the because I think Harris is now playing this week, right? Where is the what's the totem pole now? Because obviously Harris comes back is probably still the number one back, unless they're like easing him back in from a concussion, which usually that's not like the
Yeah.
type of injury you do that to. But is he still the clear cut number one? Because he's had a good season, I guess, overall too. But Stevenson looks like he's just so like give him the ball more and more good things will happen. You know what I mean? Like it's not a bad problem to have, but who is sort of what's the dynamic now? Who's getting what shares, what possession, or what downs and that type of thing?
Well,
Yeah,
I'll
it's
say
a good question.
I like 50-50 simply because like keep them both fresh. Kind of like the reason why Harris fumbled in the Miami game. They said he was exhausted, right? If you keep both those guys fresh, like I don't see why there needs to be if they're both getting 10 to 15 touches a game between the two of them. I don't see why you
Do you
need to
think that either
run
of them are like rhythm
Damien
guys
Harris.
though? You know what I mean? Like, could you be getting less out of one of them because they're not like? And now I'm not gonna say that either one of these are these type of guy, but who's like Derrick Henry gets better as he gets the ball more and more. He stinks at the beginning of the game, finishes. Do you think either? And you could say no because that would make total sense. But are these guys like, hey, like Stevenson gets a game to himself, he rushes for a couple TDs and triple digit yardage. You know what I mean? Like, and we haven't seen that yet, but
I
if
think they can
Stevenson,
work together. I mean, Stevenson had 100 all-purpose yards in the Carolina game with Harris still there. I think the
good point, yeah.
not getting Stevenson like catches would be a loss. Like I think they can still be creative. I think I wouldn't be surprised if McDaniels has two running back sets with both of them in there and it gets Stevenson in the backfield or whatever. But I think where Harris doesn't really have a lot of receiving ability, I think that Stevenson kind of is that bridge between what they're getting out of Brandon Bolden right now, which seems to be their third down back, and then Stevenson kind of gives them that dynamic of can he catch the ball or is he running? So I think there's an opportunity for all three of them to flourish. I don't know. The rhythm thing is always a good question, but I don't know. It's always hard to tell. I mean, I wish we could call them up right now and ask if they're like.
It's true. Are they in the mentality of like,
yeah, like
for example, when Stevenson was it a couple weeks ago now, went all the way down the field, got them to the 1 yard line for a couple great runs, and Harris goes in and punches in the touchdown, right? Is Stevenson the type of back that's like, come on, man, like I should have had that touchdown? Or is he like, oh, we just scored a touchdown? If it's the we answer, which seems like it's the case so far, then who cares about rhythm? Because these guys are just getting the ball, they're making the most of what they have. So it's just weird now that if Stevenson's going to step up so much, and Harris has been, I mean, stepping up too, but we kind of expected that out of him. It's kind of like, oh boy, like are these guys, are they fighting for possessions, or are they equally sort of like, taking each possession?
weirdly, it
going their
feels like
way?
running back units like had that we mentality. Like Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara, like they're
Yeah.
like.
I know. I just
But,
wonder if they actually do. Like, like
no,
have
I
you
know.
ever
Maybe
competed with
no,
somebody like,
maybe
hey,
behind
how's it
closed
going?
doors, no. But like in, yeah. But I don't know. I think like these guys do a pretty good job around the league of like it's us. We're a unit. Like so. I don't know.
I'll also say we're talking about a guy who was a third round pick and a fourth round pick. These aren't your. I mean, there's stars. Damien Harris was an RBC in college, as was Ramondre Stevenson was behind Trey Sermon. Like these guys were never the guy as far as even when they were on their college team for the most part. They were in like they
So
had other
even
guys
being
who
half the guy probably feels like the guy to them right now.
and the other thing is like
True.
I said, like you don't want to get in the Miami situation where I blame Damian Harris, but was that because Bill wouldn't give Ramondre Stevenson the ball, or he wasn't even active that game? Probably not. Like I don't know. So that was the whole. I think the way that they brought Stevenson along to me, and I think it happened too slowly, but the fact that he's here now, and I don't think it's a coincidence that they're winning with getting him touches. So that is, we saw it in the preseason. He's come alive. He looks. I think I'll say this: Stevenson to me is the future more so than Damien Harris in my eyes. He has more of that like.
I think I'm on the same boat.
He looks like he could be a top five. I know this is like crazy recency bias, but I don't think I've seen a Patriots running back do have his kind of skill set. Even in the Corey Dillon days, I don't know. That's just
I'm more wowed by Stevenson than I've ever been by Harris. Harris kind of like took the role and was like, oh yeah, he's a legit back. But watching Stevenson, I guess recency bias to your point, is kind of like like he pulls off plays and it's like
Well,
what?
he has everything in his bags. Harris is more
Yeah.
straight ahead, full downhill. Stevenson has power, speed, quickness,
That's the thing.
agility.
He has that and
hands.
some. So like, who knows?
Yeah,
where that's going.
he has everything in his bag. So my positive, I don't see a lot of love for him yet still, but I think he's been fantastic all year. They brought in a few linebackers. They brought Van Noy back. They brought Judon in, who's obviously been excellent. Van Noy's coming along. But the guy that's really stood out to me as a positive this season has been Bentley. I think he flashes
I think
2 or 3 times.
Good one.
Yeah, he flashes 2 or 3 times a game. He made a huge stop last week. It seems like he's in the backfield, like every running play is just blowing up a fullback or blowing up a guard. He's just been really, really good. And this is a guy that we were really high on after his rookie year. And then, got hurt. And then second season, third season, he looked like he was a little bit overweight or just a little slow. And this year, I don't know if it's number 8 or whatever, but he looks like he's just fast and flying to the ball. And I think he's a guy.
Could be the number.
Could be the number, honestly.
When he makes a play, I never give him immediate credit in my brain until I
8.
realize it's him. Still don't. It still hasn't triggered.
But I think he's been really good, and I think he's like kind of a key part of their defense. And so, I think he's been a huge positive. He's a free agent this year, so it could be he's just looking to get that big paycheck or whatever, and it's motivated him. But I think for them to continue to have this success on defense, like he's got to stay healthy and he's got to keep on making the plays because he sets the attitude too. If you're watching him, he's blowing up people even when he's not making the tackle. He's setting a physical edge, and so that's like championship defense. And so I think, give him a pat on the back. Maybe we'll have Bentley on the podcast.
Yeah. He's a thumb back.
I'll message him right now. Yeah, he seems we can get him.
Wait, I actually saw a thing when he got drafted. This quick side note: I saw a thing. He was like homeless his first 13 years of his life. Yeah, he's a Purdue guy. No, he has a really cool, sad story, but he was one of those. I saw a story. It's a hard guy not to root for, is I guess what I'm saying. I hope he gets the back because that's awesome. Great story for him.
I like that pick, Jake, because I feel like he's an easy scapegoat for if he's playing badly because it's like, oh well, he can't pass coverage and all. It's like, okay, but similar to I don't know if this is a weird comparison, but in terms of knowing what a guy can and can't do, when the Patriots bring in Kyle Van Noy, and it's like, oh well, now New England loved him because they kind of put him in a situation where he was actually performing. It's sort of a similar sort of grouping, I guess. To me, it's like, well, yeah. As long as New England fans can come to terms with okay, well, guess what? Then he's not a great coverage guy because guess what? That's not what he's good at. But when you put him in the right situation, it's like, oh, okay, he can make some plays. So I feel like that's he wouldn't have been one that I thought of. But now that you say it, it's like, oh, that's a good one. So kudos to you.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Mine is one that everyone's thinking of, but I feel like no one understands how good he's been, not even just for the Patriots now as he turned it around, but in terms of his career, is Hunter Henry. I think that's the layup here, right? All of a sudden he's involved here, but Henry's already, I think, at 7 touchdowns. I looked it up literally a minute ago, but 7 touchdowns. The most he's had in his career in a year is 8 so far. So probably going to pass that. And then even in terms of, let me get it back up because it was,
I'll help your argument. He's the number 1 most red zone touchdowns in the league this year.
Which is how much have we begged for that, right? There it is. This is the other one. His catch percentage is miles ahead of what it's ever been, and his now targets per game are getting there too, to where they've been in his career. So he's just gelling now. And I don't know if anyone's gonna mention his counterpart, I guess, when we get to negatives, but there's a clear cut sort of, hey, who's the big name free agent that you brought in that is just other than Judon, I guess. So on the offensive side of the ball, who's the clear cut free agent that you brought in? Then it's like, whoa, worth the money right now. You know what I mean? They're finding him. He's worth it. That little delayed slant that they ran with him and Mac Jones you watch that in
awesome.
slow-mo and stuff. That is so well executed. Mac Jones looks off the entire defense. Hunter Henry looks like an idiot. He's he's stutter stepping.
Yeah, it was a big Dan Orlovsky moment.
Dan Orlovsky got off to that one.
So it's just that's so that tells me that him and Mac Jones are in such unison. You know what I mean? I have no fear about them looking to Hunter Henry anymore because there's a connection there. So that is my plus. I know it's the easy one, but we can't leave that off our list, right?
No, we didn't say Mac Jones or Matt Judon. I feel like that was the easy ones. Those ones go.
You're right. I feel like I'm almost taking it from a standpoint of things that I was hazy about at first. So maybe that's how we phrase it. Because obviously there are Mac Jones, Matt Judon, you're right. Like those without what's going on between them this season, it's like where would you be? But I'm looking at it as almost who's taken like that step up that I didn't see at first when we did this the first time around. So, but that's true.
All right, I'll start off the
Yeah.
negatives because I think this has been by far the most underachieving player on the team this year. You guys are going to make fun of me, but I think this is a big point to make. Jake Bailey.
I
I
knew
knew he
you were
was going
gonna
there.
say it.
I knew he was going there.
I knew you were.
What happened to him? I saw he was on the injury report last week. I'm hoping he's hurt because all of a sudden he's shanking punts. He's not, the hang time's not there, and more importantly, like how many punts inside the 10 do you remember this whole season? Not a lot. You saw the Browns punter. He put it on the 1.
Yep.
We haven't had a Jake Bailey moment even close to like the 5 this year. He's gone through. He's hit punted through the end zone like all these times. The Patriots are on the 40 and they don't go for it because they're like punting field position. How many of those times is he getting like through the end zone? So it's like sweet, we gained 20 yards. It'd be one thing if he's putting it inside the 5 and you're like that makes Bill look a little better.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's let them down field position wise a lot. The fact that they've won with him being bad, but I think people forget how good he was last year for them.
He was their best player last year.
Yeah, they were 7-9, so it didn't really matter, and they had Cam Newton at the helm, so no one even
kind of insanely good. So it only followed up with this type of season. It's like
no, but he's not been average. Like if you look at it, he's been bad. He's been bottom of the league punting this year, especially like inside the 20. Like don't even want to go through it.
Yeah, we need that long-haired MFer from the Browns.
I know I guess he's hurt, so that could explain a lot. That could be the whole explanation, but he almost looks like he like forgets how to play out there. I need him to be better because I care about that stuff. I love talking about the field positions. I think that is where games are won and lost when they're close. Is just can you get to the 50 and down it inside the 10? And we haven't been able to do that this year, and we are about to play some good teams. We got the Bills twice, the Titans, the Colts, and we have a Thursday night game, which was probably going to be, as we say, grimy. And what wins grimy games? Field position. So Jake Bailey, step it up, man.
Classic Jake's just underperforming. Has anyone noticed that he looks kind of like Joe Burrow? I just realized it for the first time. Looks like almost identical to Joe Burrow. My underperformer is a second-year guy who it seems like everyone's still kind of saying definitively that he's been a successful pick. But I honestly think he's been some of a disappointment. I thought he was going to really flash this year, and he had the big sack early on against Miami, and has been quiet, and then just went on IR again today. But Josh Uche, to me, has been some of a disappointment. I thought he would be reckless, kind of the 1-2 punch to Judon, and it's really been Barmore that's gone that second, sort of pass rush, and Uche's been really quiet lately, and he missed that big fumble against the Browns last week. It's just if you just jumped on the ball, it would a little bit different. And so it seems like he just sides. Yeah, right. He seems like he just can't get out of his own way, and then he gets hurt. So he's out for the next 3 weeks. So he's a guy that I really thought was going to, be second on this team in sacks, and it looks like he's going to finish kind of quietly again this year. And so I don't know. I would still think maybe he can turn around at the end of the year and give him a spark going to the playoffs, but definitely someone that I thought was going to be more impactful in his second year than he's been so far.
I agree with you completely. They don't play him a lot in rundowns. I thought that's like a big knock, so it kind of takes away a little bit of his upside when he's literally not on the field very often.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this about Josh Uche. I think he could still be a good player for them going forward. He's not the guy who he's not the way he flashed a lot in the preseason too. I know that's against lesser talent, if you will, but he played more in the preseason. I think a lot of he just needs to get out there more and be more comfortable. I look at that as kind of like he's in Bill's doghouse and he needs to put on some weight and learn how to set an edge and blah, blah, blah. That's Bill doesn't trust him. I feel like Van Noy's kind of been the, that transition instead. But going forward, I think he'll be a piece. I agree though. It's been a down first half of the season for him.
Yeah, I think it's like it's fair in a sense of like what are you doing this year? Because hey, how good? Like, what's the potential there, right? How good could the defense is starting to fire on all cylinders? But how good could they be if he was kind of also firing? But and I don't think you're even saying that, Jake, too, right? Like that he's just like, oh, he stinks now, he's a bust type of thing. But it's true. It's like you've seen flashes. How about getting a little bit more consistent there? So I don't hate that pick. Mine is again layup central though, but and we kind of talked about it earlier. But I think I want to throw in because wasn't mentioned either. So my pick is not Janu, but I do think that he's the most like front facing to me. Not miss because again, that's someone that maybe as the season progresses, they kind of involve him. Maybe they went, okay, Bourne, Hunter Henry type of thing. Maybe they're still kind of working off the training wheels, or according to Jake, whatever's next with Jonnu Smith. But to me, he is sort of like a hey, like that was someone I was super excited for, right? So that wasn't going to be my pick, but because no one else said it, I think that it has to be said. My other one is kind of in the same vein though, and we talked about him, so I don't want to talk about it too much. Is Nelson Aguilar? I thought that they finally had like a deep threat that, watching Mac Jones in college, a guy that you could really link up with him. And that just doesn't seem like it's one in the offense necessarily, but two, he's even like involved in like, okay, so he's not catching that deep ball, right? He's still fast. Like you've seen, look at this is a weird, I mean, he's never going to be this type of player, but Tyreek Hill, super fast, right? Is the only thing they do with him send him on deep routes? No, they get the ball in his hands, let his speed do the work. It's not the same type of player because he's not like that level of shifty. But to me, that's a huge disappointment. So I guess I would say a couple of these to sum it up, because I named two guys. These signings, a couple of them worked out, but there's a couple names that I was super excited for that haven't really come to fruition yet. And I'm kind of starting to lose faith as to whether or not they will, because like we're not in the early season anymore,
No, that's a good. Those are both good picks.
Yeah.
But hopefully, even if one of those guys turns around, it's
Who would
just
you
an
rather?
added.
If you pick
Probably
one
Jonnu.
guy to turn it around, you think, yeah?
Jonnu, yeah, just because he's more of a long-term factor on the team.
Yep.
And I think overall he's potentially I think he's a better player potentially as well. So
I agree. All right. Should we get into our Survivor and then get out of here?
yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. Let me pull it up. So, weird week. We had a tie, but Adam, I guess we will end up starting with you. But so, we had
Actually, I
a
haven't
tie.
looked at. Can you show me the
I will,
games?
I will, I
I've
will, I will,
I
I
have
will.
not looked at this at all.
All right, you got that? All right. So last week, I'm the kiss of death in this, by the way. I picked the Bucks over the Washington football team.
Yeah, you're tough.
And
Don't pick the Pats.
They get smoked. Two in a row lost. I already picked the Pats, and they actually won. But I feel like they were against the Jets or Titans or something, or Texans. But anyway, so I'm 5-5. Jake's 6-4. Adam's still at the top, 8-2. Adam, we are ruling your overtime as a loss because you said it first, not us, right? That's how we're going.
Yeah,
with
it's a loss. It's a loss.
All right. So Steelers, obviously, with the going through overtime, and they end up tying. Jake, the sole victor last week with the Cowboys. What a tough game to pick, too, huh? Cowboys beating up on the Falcons 43-3. But
that was my gut. Should have went with the gut. I changed it.
Yeah, you did say that. There's record you saying that. But all right, Jake, we'll start with you then this week because you are the only one that won last week in week 11 here.
I'm going to go with the Ravens. They had that awful loss against Miami. I don't see them losing 2 in a row. Rebound week for them. I think they blow out the Bears.
Okay, Adam?
I just got to get back in the win column. I'm going to take the Titans.
Titans over Texans.
Yeah, I just
Adam's running the Texans way. It's going to burn him eventually.
I mean, they're
gonna win.
I'm waiting.
Jake thinks this is an 82-game season. All right. To me, like you guys, I had not really thought about this so far here, so this is a tough one. But I think
short week for us.
I'm picking games that I feel like are like I'm getting too dicey with some of these picks, hence my record. But I'm gonna go to the Chargers over the Steelers. And I know I kind of. I don't like that because Jake just called their quarterback the Justin Poopy Pants, but I like to have a little rooting interest in some of these games. Like Adam, you fall asleep halfway through your Survivor pick, so
I went to overtime and got a tie, and I ain't falling asleep. So
all right.
Wait. I actually want 2 minutes on that tie because I just think this is
2 minutes.
The epitome of no. I'm not actually talking about the game. the epitome of why there is a problem in the NFL is just bad head coaches. Mike Tomlin never had a losing season. Yet, how does Najee Harris not know that there's only one overtime? You heard? Do you see this?
Yeah. He said he didn't know.
He went back to the field thinking it was like a second overtime because he's out of college, and it's like. And then I did a little. This went crazy on Twitter. You know, like Deshaun Goldson thought there was like 3 overtimes in 2012. Like this isn't like a one-time thing. Apparently, guys just don't know.
Donovan McNabb didn't know you could tie.
Yeah. You like. It's just.
I mean, you shouldn't be able to. Like, they're.
I know,
what is this, soccer?
But do you think like I just have a feeling like Bill Belichick actually like I feel like Bill Belichick like day one actually is like, hey guys, just so you guys know, if we go to overtime, there's one overtime. If it ends, it's a tie. Like the other coaches, I guess not do that.
Bill goes over every single rule with these guys.
That's my point. But if Najee Harris thinks there's a second overtime, maybe he's playing a little differently. Like I don't know. Like that's I guess
they should have a kickoff, a field goal off. I think. Keep on moving back like 5 yards at a time until one guy makes it and the other guy misses it. That's how you settle the tie.
Oh my God! What if you? Oh, you know, I have the
Justin Tucker is such a weapon.
NHL shootout style where you just have the designated quarterback and then a one-on-one receiver and defensive back, and it's like NHL shootout there where you have rotation of DBs,
DBs are gonna look
receivers.
Bad in that situation.
Oh my God!
Or just do an Oklahoma drill.
I would
fullback.
They zoom in just Oklahoma drill.
Just Oklahoma drill.
I'd love to see Christian Barmore in an Oklahoma drill.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I want. I just want to bring that up because to me it's laughable that but go Pats.
All right, go Pats. We will catch you guys in lucky number 13 next week. Peace out.